When asked by Gallup how much trust and confidence people put in the mass media, 60% said not very much or none at all. 40% say they have a great deal of trust, or at least a fair amount. And while the numbers are not good, Pat Caddell says the reasons why are obvious.
The press's job is to stand on the ramparts and protect the liberty and freedom of all of us from a government and from organized governmental power. When they desert those ramparts and they go to serve to decide that they will now become an active participants, when they decide that their job is not simply both to tell you who you may vote for and who you may not, but worse. And this is the danger of the last 2 weeks. What truth you may know as an American and what truth you are not allowed to know. They have then made themselves a fundamental threat to the democracy and, in my opinion, made themselves the enemy of the American people.
Wow. Pat Caddell is a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and a Fox News contributor and co-host of Campaign Insiders. Doug Schoen is a former advisor to President Bill Clinton, also a Fox News contributor, and co-host of that same show, Campaign Insiders as well. That airs here on the Fox News channel. It's 5:30 Sunday nights.
Yes,
okay. So fired up, Pat Caddell. What's that about?
Well, it's about what I feel is we're entering territory we've never entered before. We have had over the years the press being more and more biased. The Gallup poll is the highest it's ever registered in people knowing that they're not being told the full story. But we've never had a situation where the press has purposely decided to pick up a narrative from the White House to not tell people things that happened in order to support their overwhelming candidate for President, Barack Obama. And that's what I think this is not about partisanship. This is about danger, because the reason that the First Amendment exists without any checks and balances on the media is because they're supposed to protect the people. That's the implicit bargain. Not that we're supposed to become a version of Pravda, which is what we've been seeing. When the New York Times takes 2 weeks to run anything on this subject, when we have 20 embassies under assault right after the events in Libya and nobody runs it on the air in the major networks, we have a problem.
I agree with Pat. Dominant force is a liberal media that is driving a narrative that President Obama is reelected, no big deal about what happened in the Middle East initially, until it became clear that it was a terrorist attack that was orchestrated potentially by al-Qaeda. And I think that Pat is right. There is a narrative that is being used to drive this campaign in a way that is effectively complicit with the Obama campaign.
Look, we have a huge echo chamber, which is the mainstream media, because the networks, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and how they cover things. It is dominant, and it's reinforcing. What was the big story after Libya? How Governor Romney screwed up. I wouldn't have gone out and spoken when he spoke.
And what a terrible film.
And what a terrible film. What an awful film. I mean, this makeup, it is a tissue of lies. The press's job is to go after everybody. That was part of my speech, which is what they did. In 1979, when I watched some of your show earlier today, I'm watching the arguments in defense of this. You know, about the president, I said that any other president, Democrat or Republican, would have been crucified while the council was still smoking, to go to Las Vegas for a fundraiser instead of being in the Oval Office doing his job. Jimmy Carter, when the hostages were seized in 1979, we were behind Ted Kennedy. The senior campaign people, the 4 senior people, Hamilton, Jordan, Jody Powell, Jerry Rafferty, and myself, went in and argued with him that he had to continue to campaign. You know what President Carter said? Absolutely not. My job right now is I need to be here, not on the road. I must be here because of what's going on. And that's where President Obama should have been. He should have been doing his job. And why isn't the press saying anything? I've raised it with you before. Valerie Jarrett has full Secret Service protection. We find out we're not protecting our ambassador. Why aren't these questions being asked by the media? Because if they did, it would ruin the narrative that they have, and it would ruin the idea of what they're supposed to do.
We've gotten to the point where the mainstream media appears to be facilitating a narrative that is not questioning the instruments of power in government, but is rather facilitating a narrative of the political operation of the White House. I don't think that's healthy for the country. No. I don't think it's healthy for the democracy.
And you see what you saw today. You know, they're using the polls of what I call the new negative advertising against Romney by the press. You just had Melissa Francis on talking about what's going on, the corruption in the Labor Department to keep people from knowing they're going to be laid off if sequestering goes through. Earlier today, we heard about the Defense Department has basically dragged its feet on absentee ballots for military personnel. That's corruption of the first order, but we are not covering it because we do nothing that will harm the Obama administration.
Guys, thank you for being here.